When it comes to the Evil Dead franchise, especially the remakes, my favorites in the whole lineup are probably the 2013 remake, the original Evil Dead 1 and 2 that started with Ash, and Army of Darkness. And now I can honestly say that I can add Evil Dead Burn to that list. When Evil Dead Rise came out, I had some bittersweet feelings about it, but I felt like Rise dropped the ball. The kills weren't up to par and the tone was a lot goofier. Evil Dead 1 was scarier, like 2013, and Evil Dead 2 leaned a little bit more goofier, so Rise was probably chasing the same shift in tone. Evil Dead Burn goes the opposite direction. Full brutal, zero goofiness. This one lines up much more with the 2013 in terms of seriousness, brutality, and the scares. I don't think there's a more brutal Evil Dead movie than this one. They went balls to the wall with the blood, the gore, and the overall nastiness on how people die in this thing. There are multiple scenes that made me cringe just from how nasty they get, to the point that if I were to actually describe some of the things that happen in this movie in detail, that this whole review would probably get demonetized. Not that we are monetized, but if we were monetized, it would totally get demonetized. Evil Dead Burn follows a woman who just lost her husband, an abusive guy who didn't treat her right. He dies under some circumstances, and she has to go to the funeral and spend the night at his family's house, a family that doesn't really like her. From there's some ritualistic words that get said, and soon enough you get another Evil Dead movie where the Deadites are doing terrible things to themselves and everyone around them. I went with two other people who thought the acting was actually pretty bad. I thought it was okay. It lands right where you would want Evil Dead acting to kind of be, just good enough to carry the story along, but nothing amazing and nothing that you're gonna look back and be like, wow, what a good actor. It was slightly above bad, but just believable enough for it to work. The lead actress does a good job. You genuinely feel for her as she gets put through some terrible situations. The pacing runs a little long. I caught a late night showing and I actually nodded off for about 2 minutes early on, before the Deadite stuff kicks in. But once that gets going, it picks up and doesn't really let go. There isn't a ton of story here, and what's there leans on the idea of a woman escaping an abusive relationship and fighting back against her abusive ex-husband and his family. I appreciate them trying to be a little deeper, but I don't think an Evil Dead movie really needs it. This franchise is about Deadites killing people in brutal, over-the-top ways, and for the most part, that's exactly what you get. Now, the messaging in this movie felt a little heavy-handed. I think it could have benefited from a more simpler plot. You know, people trapped in a cabin, Deadites are closing in and they're banding together to survive. The movie could have benefited from something more simpler like that, falling along the lines of Evil Dead 1 and 2, but I appreciate that they're trying to do a message. I just felt like it was kind of a missed mark and it felt a little heavy-handed. When they first released a promotional clip, I think from Comic-Con, showing the lead running from the Deadites in this one continuous shot, it honestly looked a little low budget, almost fan-made, but the finished movie looks pretty great. One of my issues about this movie actually isn't the cinematography, it's how they stay in a house that is already really creepy before anything creepy happens. It's just a pet peeve of mine, horror movies where they stay in a house that is full of mold and cracks on the wall and it just looks pretty like unlivable, and they end up staying there. It's very unbelievable. Now they kind of write it off as this is the grandfather's house and they weren't able to keep up the upkeep of the house, but I just hate when movies do that, especially horror movies. I like them to earn the creepiness, it just not being in a creepy house already that no one would actually live in, because if you saw this house, you'd probably book a hotel. That aside, the cinematography itself is strong. Cool blue color grading, plenty of shots emphasizing the Deadites gliding across the location, camera flips during hangings. It's not necessarily cinematography that deepens the story, it's more of a stylistic flair, but I can appreciate that, especially since Sam Raimi's movies have always leaned into that fun, flashy camera work. There's a great 360 shot near the end during a burning house sequence. It reminded me of The Conjuring 2 in the same cool for the sake of being cool kind of way. Now, the kills. This is where the movie really shines. They tease weapons early on with quick close-up shots, random forks, a dishwasher, some kind of weed-eating tool, little Easter eggs for what's coming later. And when those payoffs hit, they do not disappoint. This movie is brutal. I was cringing in my seat multiple times. They do not hold back for the sake of gore. I'm probably going to buy this on Blu-ray just because of how happy the kills made me. Blood everywhere. Some scenes don't even involve killing, just nasty body fluids used to the maximum effect. If you enjoy watching people get torn apart in creative ways without the camera cutting away, this is going to be a blast for you. Honestly, some of the best gore I've seen in an Evil Dead movie. I remember the promotional buzz around 2013 2013 bragging about 1,000 gallons of blood, the most ever used on a set, I wouldn't be surprised if Burn came pretty close to that. As a straight up horror movie, it has its issues. There are plot holes, deadites that seemingly needed to be invited in like a vampire with zero explanation, characters who logically should have turned into deadites but conveniently haven't yet. It feels like the story is holding back logic just to keep moving forward. But when I watch these movies, I'm not here for the airtight plotting. I want bloody gore and a good time, and that's exactly what I got. The people I saw it with weren't as into it as I was. They gave it around a 5 out of 10, so if you're not a big Evil Dead fan or you're looking for something with tighter storytelling, this might disappoint you. And if you're squeamish about gore, this movie is absolutely not for you. But they set out to make the most brutal Evil Dead movie yet, and I think they succeeded. So I'm gonna go ahead and give Evil Dead Burn probably a 7 out of 10. If you're an Evil Dead fan, definitely go see it. It's full of gore. I think you'll have a really good time. If you're someone that's looking for more of a tighter plot structure, a story that you can really get invested in, you're definitely going to be disappointed, and I wouldn't recommend seeing it. Now, as an Evil Dead movie, I'm gonna put this as an 8 out of 10. I really think it's right up there with the 2013 remake, and if I had to put them in order, it'd be the 2013 remake, it would be Evil Dead Burn, and then Evil Dead Rise. Let me know down in the comments what your order of the best Evil Dead movies would be. Would love to read that. But yeah, that's my Evil Dead Burn review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Until the next one, doses.